Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. The bluster has evaporated, replaced by the cold, undeniable reality of a geopolitical catastrophe. Behind closed doors, the current administration is reportedly in a state of sheer panic, actively preparing to abandon a conflict they initiated, a move that military historians are already drafting as one of the most humiliating strategic defeats in modern American history. According to explosive new reporting from the Wall Street Journal, the commander-in-chief has explicitly instructed aides to find an immediate off-ramp to the Iranian conflict. The White House is desperately searching for a way to conclude combat operations, even if that means permanently leaving the vital Strait of Hormuz in a total deadlock. Intelligence assessments have finally pierced the Oval Office bubble. Defense officials are admitting that any forced military operation to reopen the strait would drag the United States into a prolonged, unwinnable quagmire far past their initial 4 to 6 week timeline. Suddenly, the objective is no longer a triumphant occupation. The administration is frantically attempting to rebrand a full-scale retreat as a localized victory, claiming their new goal is simply degrading Iranian conventional military capabilities. Furthermore, ground operations, once loudly championed as the ultimate solution, have been quietly scrubbed from the priority list. Notice the sudden shift in rhetoric. We are operating in 2026. Modern warfare is not decided by conventional tank battalions or legacy air power. The battle space is completely dominated by first-person view FPV drone swarms, loitering munitions, and precision ballistic missiles. You cannot claim victory by defeating a conventional army that is systematically dismantling your infrastructure with advanced asymmetric technology. Recall the absolute confidence radiating from Washington just weeks ago. The narrative was uncompromising. We are executing regime change. The Iranian public will flood the streets in gratitude. The nuclear program will be erased and the missile stockpiles obliterated. None of that materialized. Instead, we are witnessing an administration moving the goalposts in real time. Look at the recent directives published by the State Department. Top diplomats, including Marco Rubio, are now outlining entirely new, downgraded objectives, destroying the Iranian Air Force, neutralizing their navy, and diminishing missile launching capabilities. Wait, didn't the president explicitly claim last week that Iran's missile capabilities were already fully obliterated? The contradictions are glaring. Notice what is entirely absent from the State Department's new checklist: regime change, nuclear dismantlement, securing the Strait of Hormuz. All of the foundational justifications for this unlawful conflict have vanished. The strategic fallout is absolute. The Iranian parliament recently codified a law claiming total sovereign ownership over the Strait of Hormuz. They are now actively charging transit tolls to foreign allies while entirely blockading the United States and Israel. By initiating this conflict, the administration handed control of the globe's most critical energy artery directly to Tehran. Simultaneously, sanctions on both Iranian and Russian oil exports have effectively collapsed. If the administration's definition of winning involves massively empowering Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran, they have achieved a spectacular victory. For the United States, however, it is a devastating surrender. Tehran is not hiding its amusement. The Iranian Foreign Ministry recently mocked Washington on social media, sarcastically thanking the president for his threats and announcing the strait was open exclusively for Chinese petroleum tankers. The ripple effects are tearing through allied command structures. The Israeli military is reportedly facing a catastrophic resource breakdown. Facing critical supply shortages, the IDF is abruptly shifting its operational focus away from hardened military targets and directing fire toward Iranian civilian and economic infrastructure, specifically gas pipelines and steel plants. Let us be absolutely clear. Systematically targeting civilian energy and economic infrastructure is a grave violation of international law. It also triggers an immediate symmetrical response. Iran has mercilessly retaliated by obliterating the steel and energy grids of its Arab neighbors. When Allied forces bombed academic science centers at Tehran University, Iran immediately threatened American universities in Qatar, forcing mass evacuations. 13 major United States military bases across the Middle East currently sit completely abandoned. Over the last 48 hours alone, Iranian precision strikes crippled a massive Kuwaiti oil tanker off the coast of Dubai and leveled an oil depot in Haifa. The region is burning, and the president wants out. But his focus is not on stabilizing the global economy or protecting deployed service members. His attention is entirely consumed by his plummeting domestic standing. The latest YouGov polling data places his approval rating at an abysmal 33%, historic depths of unpopularity. Instead of managing a global crisis, the commander-in-chief is publicly obsessing over constructing massive presidential libraries in Miami, putting his likeness on the $100 bill, and designing golden ballrooms. Military brass are openly appalled. Former top commanders from allied nations are publicly urging Washington to simply declare a fake victory and stop the bleeding. Retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Steve Anderson accurately labeled this the greatest geopolitical disaster in the history of our country. However, when Anderson dismisses the Iranian military as nothing more than committed religious fanatics, he commits a fatal analytical error. This is not a disorganized insurgency. Iran is a highly sophisticated, technologically advanced society. Despite the heavy repression of their government, their engineering and university sectors are world-class, mass-producing the exact cutting-edge weaponry that is currently stalemating Western legacy systems. To underestimate them as mere zealots is to misunderstand why the United States is losing this war. They are executing a calculated, long-term strategy of economic attrition, and they know exactly how much pain the global market can absorb. The domestic political coalition that championed this aggression is officially fracturing. Die-hard loyalists and high-profile MAGA commentators are publicly denouncing the administration. Supporters who defended the president for a decade are taking to social media, furious that their children are being deployed to fight a disastrous foreign war that completely contradicts the America First isolationism they were promised. Meanwhile, American priorities are on full, surreal display. While the Middle East destabilizes, military officials have been forced to launch an investigation after 2 AH-64 Apache attack helicopters were deployed in Tennessee to intimidate domestic civilian protesters before landing at the private residence of musician Kid Rock for a photo opportunity. The administration is looking for the emergency exit, but the door is locked from the outside. The Arab nations that partnered with Washington, the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, are issuing a stark ultimatum. They invested heavily in the current administration, pouring billions into sovereign wealth funds tied to the president's private financial ventures. They bought a security umbrella. Now that their domestic infrastructure is being hammered by Iranian missiles, they're telling Washington, you cannot abandon us. If the United States attempts to flee, the Gulf states will have no choice but to forge a new security architecture. And waiting in the wings to broker that new regional order are Russia and China. We will continue to track this unprecedented strategic collapse. Ensure your notifications are turned on. And thank you for supporting independent media as we bring you the unfiltered reality from the ground.